Hi everyone, welcome back to another season of the African Footprints podcast. Yes, I know we've been missing in action. Apologies for that. Mtu aliamua anataka kutoka soko kwanza, so we had to let that happen first. But here we are back with season 3, and this season we're talking about assassinations and basically African leaders who've died through assassinations by either sitting leaders or coups and all things like that. But the first episode is a bit of a special episode, and while we were away, while we were on a break, on the Christmas break, while we were starting the year and getting things sorted out, a lot has been happening, including the whole situation with Haiti. And that is why we just want to have a little conversation about that. What's been happening, why all that is happening in Haiti is happening as it is. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And to our recurring viewers, welcome back. My name is Efijan Atieno, and today I have my fellow host, not such a new face here.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself to the audience.
My name is Paul Konyango, friend of the podcast and now member of the podcast.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Paul. He's a history guy, so of course he had to be here because as we are looking at what is happening in Haiti at the moment, we have to go way back, way back before they got their independence to the 1400s, and tunataka tuwapeleke na mtaratara kutoka hiyo pande. So we want to talk about a little bit of Haiti's history. What happened? How did Haiti become a nation? And the situation where Haiti is doing poorly compared to all the other Caribbean countries around it, particularly the Dominican Republic, considering they were colonized at the same time, colonized by the same colonizers, more or less, and basically how Haiti lost its glory. And the whole conversation currently is Haiti becoming a failed state? And the issue with the rival gangs in Haiti. So there's a lot. So this might be a longer episode than usual. We're used to the 15-20 minutes, but you will enjoy the ride, guys. Trust me. So Paul, over to you. I've spoken a little too much, but they know I talk a lot. So I'll leave it to you. We can just start from the history. Okay. Why and how Haiti became Haiti as it is now.
Okay, so Effie said we are going way back. So I'll be taking you guys to 5000 BCE.
Okay.
It's like the way back of way back.
Mm-hmm.
So in 5000 BCE, we have an island. It's populated by guys called the Arawak people. Mm-hmm. They're like an Indo-American subset of peoples, like similar relation to, say, the Red Indians who are indigenous to the States. So the Arawak peoples have mainly two tribes. The one we're going to focus on mostly is going to be the Taino. The Taino are the ones who are occupying this island. They've been here doing their whole farming thing and whatnot. So fast forward, it's 1492. Mm-hmm. Between 5000 BC and 1492 is a bit of time. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to stay here for days because a lot of things happen. So it's 1492. The Taino people have made this island their home. They've been here, they've been doing all they're doing. 1492, a curious individual by the name of Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain. His goal was, a curious individual, because why would you just leave home when the entire world thought it ends at the horizon? So he was chasing the horizon. So he leaves home and arrives at this island. He calls the island La Isla Española, which means the Spanish island. Mm-hmm. This guy just sees a mass of land and decides to name it on the spot after his own home country. So soon after Columbus makes this quote-unquote discovery, the Spanish expansion gets curious about what this island could hold for them. So Spain sends its own its further expedition. They arrive at the island, they find gold deposits. Mm-hmm. And it's gold. It's the 1400s. Mm-hmm. Europe is awash with many empires trying to I myself can be bigger than the other guy. So that's what they do. They arrive, find gold, and decide to enslave the people. Remember, these were people who had been kept in sort of like a bubble from the rest of civilization. Well, European civilization. So the Europeans came with lots of diseases, and then they had subjugated them to harsh labor. Mm-hmm. Like it was terrible living conditions. Mm-hmm. So fast forward the years 1508, the indigenous population has reduced to around 60,000 people. Spain keeps on insisting on getting all the gold they can. 40 years later, 1548, the entire population has been decimated and under 500 people are left in amongst the tiny. So this is how the landmass that would come to be called Haiti started. It started by an unfair subjugation of a people by foreign powers. So because they've sort of wiped out this entire populace, the Spanish decide they give a decree that there's a bunch of people in a certain continent can kind of use them to come over here and provide us free labor. And that's how African slaves started getting brought to Haiti. And couple of years pass, wamemaliza gold yote hapo. So now everyone's like, what do we do here? So the Spanish left. The Africans who were brought here forcefully started to sort of have their own commune over there. French pirates discovered the land, they started coming, British pirates started coming, and then next thing you know, there's the War of the Spanish Succession. So this is a huge mass of European powers fighting to get their own guy on the Spanish throne, but also on top of that, to acquire Spanish territory. One of them being
Haiti.
So the French set their sights on Haiti. And the French arrived by around 1692. They get to Haiti. They have now decided this is the new mass of land we're going to have, and we're going to make the most we can out of it. So once again, the French decide what? We're going to import more African slaves. And then that's how Haiti's face started turning from the indigenous Taino people to now the black Africans. So Haiti became a successful colony. Anything you would want to plant on a commercial scale during that age could succeed. If it's cotton, if it's cocoa, but more importantly, if it's sugar. And Haiti was sugar really, really did well. So that's what they did, started bringing a lot of people. But remember, the whole world itself was also moving. There were lots of tides that were shifting throughout the entire globe. For example, by around the late 1780s, in mainland France, there was a lot of agitation against imperial rule, what history would later call the French Revolution. So the year is 1789. In 1789, a few major events started to happen. One, the French have been importing, and I use this term very loosely, with utmost respect, lots of Africans. So the population in Haiti stands at around 46,000 people. 500,000 of those are African. Around 20-something thousand are the European settlers, and then a smaller grouping was all the mulattoes, the mixed race guys were there. The mulattoes were being treated differently. They were one on a kind of a subset of Europeans, so they were not being enslaved like the darker skinned people. So,
but they were still lower than that.
Yeah, but they were still lower than the actual Europeans. Even if they had their own small liberties here and there. So it's 1789, that's how Haiti, the demographic looks like. But back in homeland France, the French have decided we're going to chop off the head of monarchs. We want a society for all. Remember the mantra, liberty, fraternity, etc. That's what they wanted. So back in mainland Haiti, the white people who are there, they kind of want this entire freedom that's happening over there, because what it meant was they will be free from France. So how they have their own country. But then they also don't want the black people to know by the way, there's this whole thing called treating people with dignity. And all human beings are equal and whatnot. So they try to keep it in low tones, hush, hush, let no one know that whatever is happening over there. The slaves get wind of what their masters are planning. These guys, turns out they want to be free. They want to agitate for freedom. And so the slaves start planning for revolt. They start planning, cooking up things that the revolt is going to happen. And so the year gets to 1791, things are brewing proper. Then they had even decided that on this particular day, with these particular sounds, everyone's going to know, like, you, this is it. This is our moment. So kulikuwa na one half ya the slaves in northern Haiti wenye walianza the revolution mapema. before the others got wind of it, they started returning, and then they were caught. So they were being whipped, being beaten, being tortured, and then they revealed the whole plan. But the white people, the white settlers, they thought that these slaves are way too inferior to come up with something of this magnitude. Yeah, like there's no way these guys will come up with something of this magnitude. Fast forward, it's still the year 1791, and then the whole uprising begins. Yeah. So 100,000 slaves just out. And the white settlers had really mistreated them. So when the revolution started, they just started it with like the pain and horror. They dragged their masters from their beds, beat them up, beheaded some. Children and women were born a pig and being killed. And that's how now the whole revolution started. So on one hand, you see in mainland France, walikuwa na shida moja, like we have destroyed the monarchy on the idea that all men are free. But then, these all men are free, we kind of don't mean all men are free. We just mean like a certain caliber of men are free. So what they did, they drafted something, the French Assembly drafted something called a Declaration of the Rights of People, of all peoples. And it was based on like the freedom of mankind. It didn't specify what kind of man it meant, it just meant the freedom of mankind. So some of the Haitian revolutionists, guys like, there's a guy, forgive my French, it's non-existent. He's called Toussaint Louverture. That did something. That did something. Yeah. So Toussaint was like amongst these people when he had understood what the French idea of liberty meant, and that's part of the background with which they were fighting. In fact, at this point, the slaves were not fighting to be free of France. No, they were just fighting to be free men. In fact, many of them were fighting under the pretext that the king has granted us freedom. And they wanted the misinformation. They didn't know King Charles' head was somewhere. He got chopped off in the Topo. But they were fighting like the king has granted us freedom, but these guys don't want us to be free. And we are fighting as French nationals. So because of that whole situation, they had like stifled the white population within their own country. The news of their whole uprising ilikuwa imefika the mainland, and now the mainland were also worried, like we might lose this entire colony thing. Yeah. So the mainland they decided to they drafted a whole agreement, and then they declared all slaves free. Yeah. So they gave them all freedom. But the whites over here, on hearing that, they were like, nah, we can't be having that. So what the French did, they sent a new governor with a whole new bunch of troops. They came. The whites decided to collaborate with the Brits so that the Brits could come and reinstate that populist slave regime. This is now in 1792. Now, the problem was this. You see, sailing to the Caribbeans, the Europeans had sort of like mastered it. But there are certain months you don't just go. If you go there, like that was a real thing. Yeah, because you'd suffer from yellow fever and malaria. But the Brits, I think, ilikuwa njaa, not like hunger for food, but they thought that if we were to take this prosperous French colony, then man, Britain would be rich. So they sailed. They got to the banks of Haiti, and to their surprise, the terrain was so harsh for them. Yeah, it was hostile. Many of their troops died. They died in hundreds, nearing the thousands. And then the French were here also trying to get a hold of the territory. So the French decided to collaborate with the slaves. And then the Spaniards, the French, the land, they were also in the south of it, parts of what is now the Dominican Republic. They also decided, this is our time. We might as well join the Brits and then force our foot down on this. But the French alliance, the French Republic alliance with the slaves proved successful. So they eventually trumped this whole thing. And then Toussaint emerged as the now sort of victorious.
Yeah.
They had now quashed they chased down everyone. So things looked good. You could tell, by the way, we are kind of free. None. But in mainland France, the revolution had passed. France was a republic. But then there was one character who was now making his debut upon history. Napoleon Bonaparte. Yeah. So Napoleon comes. Napoleon is as Locke would say, burdened with glorious powers. He has the idea that France is supposed to be this magnanimous empire, and he wouldn't let French territory such as Haiti, which was very rich, but then by this time they were calling Haiti Saint-Domingue. Yeah. I think your pronunciation correct. It's Saint-Domingue.
You're trying.
They're calling Haiti Saint-Domingue. So, and Napoleon decides to move with a whole master plan. Ajambia, the leader of this whole revolution thing is Toussaint. How about we just remove the guy from the equation? Yeah. So Napoleon sends in some troops and they kidnap the dude. They send him to France where he waits till it's dead. But he did not account for the fact that these people were truly determined to be free of the shackles of slavery. And so one of his generals picked up, his name was Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Yeah. But there today my French is it's really pulling through here. So Jean-Jacques Dessalines, he picks it up, decides to lead the people. And in 1804, Jean-Jacques successfully triumphs against the French. At this point, Napoleon is man, I can't just hold on to this thing. One, we've lost so many people. We are kind of being choked on our front when we're fighting the whole mass of Europe. So Napoleon ditches the whole Haitian project. So past time, as early as 1804, we have an independent black nation. In fact, so independent that Dessalines decided you might as well have a constitution. Yeah. They even formed a constitution. It was a brilliant document, had a whole charter of had rights and a safeguard for when white people came. He had a clause there where, should these guys come back again, we're going to burn everything and then pick up arms and then fight them. So that it's we're not leaving anything for the enemy. But then the disease that usually captures African leaders post-independence crept up upon Dessalines. And then Dessalines decided, the way, aside from France and the United States, every other nation is an empire. Might as well be the first black empire. So Dessalines declared himself emperor for life. My boy didn't see 2 years. By 1806, he was dead. Yeah, assassinated. So, at this point, you start to see, how, it's the rain starting to beat this new nation. And a young country that has gone through so much just for them to be free, only to land in the clutches of a new form of oppression. Yeah. Oppression by, someone with skin such as yours. Yeah. And remember, the Haitians, they really fought for freedom because they wanted to own their own land from the poor people. That I can farm, I can have my own things. But what Dessalines and all the successive regimes that came after his death during that period, all they wanted to do was like, we're going to enslave the people of Ghana. Yeah. So that's how it was playing out. So it's like they jumped from the frying pan into another frying pan because the fires are still coming. So yeah, they had other regimes moving onwards. The period of 1825, the periods between 1825 to 1914 also saw other characters, like, for example, King Charles, who decided to recognize Haiti. American also finally decided to recognize Haiti as a country. But then after years of being segregated from the international community so that they couldn't even participate in commerce, had like really, really bankrupted them. And then to top it all off, the French decided, like, now that we've recognized you, you guys kind of need to pay us.
Yeah, for taking slave for the for slavery. Their lands which were not
technically theirs. Yeah. So the French decided, like, by the way, you guys are paying us, and I think this just demonstrates how they had everything going on against them. Yeah, like really going on against them. And then this heavy yoke of debt has been placed upon their necks. And to top it all off, the country is still trying to recover, like, economically from what they were as a plantation. At least now, nations of the world kind of accept them, but then they don't accept them too much because remember, even for the US, they don't want black people in the States to kind of know, like, oh, by the way, there's a whole nation of black people who revolted. Yeah, fought for their freedoms, and then here they are fleeing. So they were there, struggling. 1914 comes with its own problems, war, obviously. The whole world kind of like turns a blind eye over Haiti. The Americans decide, like, by the way, this is our chance to become an imperialist nation. So they also move in on Haiti. They orchestrate a couple of massacres. So the people are being butchered, exploited economically with no tides of hope because, again, they're a black nation. Colonization was rife across the whole world. Yeah. So this pretext of events would sort of define how Haiti would exist. Remember, the world at this point, the world is such a complex thing that you can't just exist as a country independently. Your success is tied to how you relate with other nations. And these were nations that chose to relate with Haiti insofar as they can like exploit that. So after the massacres, another calamity steps in, and this calamity presents interesting character who puts his foot upon the stage. Francois Duvalier, Papadoc. Yeah.
The name has a very interesting background.
Yeah, very interesting background. So, in fact, Effie was the one who told me about Papadoc years back, but I've known her for a hot minute. So Effie was telling me about, like, there's this tyrant who existed in Haiti called Papadoc. And I thought it was a curious name. Like, why would you be called Papadoc and be a tyrant? The name Papa signifies, patriarchal, like tendencies. Like, you would think it'd be a father of the nation. So at this point, Haiti was celebrating 150 years of independence. Hurricane strikes, killing a huge mass of people. In comes this doctor, educated in Haiti, like he's a proper medical doctor. He does all these things. He's like saving lives during that whole calamity. But then when the tides settle, Papadoc declares himself like, you, by the way,
lifetime leader.
I'm a lifetime leader. I'm going to rule you guys until I die. So he's president for life. And Papadoc's reign was nothing short of tyrannical. Yeah, he would kill political opponents. Like any vile thing you think a dictator would do. In fact, if anything, he kind of set the tone for what African dictators would do, like in that century after like independence. Like all the vile dictators you could think of, they kind of started in Papa Doc school of like,
Dictatorship.
Of dictatorship.
Red Square board of dictatorship.
Yeah.
The last episode.
Yeah, Red Square's board of dictatorship. Yeah. So I can see Eston over there is like Red Square is his child. So this is what Papa Doc was doing, and he would rule until when he himself died.
Would die, actually.
Yeah.
And something that was interesting about his reign, first of all, he was accused of massacring people. Like, it was widespread human rights violation, if they even understood what human rights were. Because I think at this point they did, because they already had a charter with sort of a Bill of Rights. And he was accused of, this voodoo kind of person. So I don't think the doctor was really a connotation of him being a medical doctor. But he's going into witchcraft and all those voodoo kind of stuff. Because that is, after getting the military backing and coming in as the leader, he essentially used that to retain power. I don't know when he used to get the medicines, because and on Cumberland.
And by the way, in order for you to get like the importance of like the whole voodooism, what made Papa Doc like sort of get entrenched into Haitian politics and rule was that voodooism played a significant role during the revolt in slavery. And remember, I told you of the events of 1789 and 1791. What inspired the slaves to revolt en masse? Achana wala wa kwanza wenye walishikwa. Like, what inspired them to revolt en masse was that in their belief of voodooism, that night in which they set forth to kill the white people, it was raining and lightning there were thunderstorms everywhere. So they interpreted this as like, man, the omens are with us. The ancestors are fighting behind us. So this whole tide of voodooism like defined the people, and that's where you sort of see Papa Doc doing like legitimacy from.
Yeah,
please continue.
And I think when he died, there was this wave of, finally he's gone. But then 1971 comes in, and then his son, Jean-Claude, becomes the president. And guess what his name is? Baby Doc.
Yep.
Like, these guys could not get any more creative with his names. And I think nothing changed with him, because he basically continued with the legacy that the father left. And it was massacre, human rights violation, killing of opponents, anyone who decided to even think that maybe I could overthrow these people and all that. It was chaos, and they would just disappear. And this is the time when thousands of Haitians, Matthew, let me just put it to context. These guys have fought several wars, not just one. Several wars that internally fought against external forces, just to be recognized as a people, who are, Haitians and not just slaves. But when Baby Doc and Papa Doc came in, there were so many violations that they decided to leave, and most of them decided to go to Florida, and they were called the boat people. Now, they were leaving a place where they didn't even have an identity. Now they have an identity, and now they're not even identified as Haitians who are fleeing, but boat people. And it was sad, because around 1971, as they were fleeing, thousands of them died. So it was essentially wiping a whole generation. But fast forward after the death of Baby Doc, we had other successive regimes that came in, and oftentimes they would end in either being overthrown or just being killed. So that was the system in Haiti. But then fast forward, because you can stay here forever. History is quite interesting, and I'm encouraging you to go read it. Fast forward, we come to 1990. And in 1990, something interesting comes in. You realize all this time we have people who just wake up, overthrow the current government, and declare themselves as the president, as the leader, as the supreme leader. They have such titles for themselves. And as the lifetime president, they had very weird terms. But then 1990 enters democracy. Then we have the first democratically elected president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide. Jean-Bertrand Aristide. And he was the first democratically elected president. But again, these are people who are not used to democracy. they were used to the familiar, which was war, and people just waking up and declaring themselves as president. So they would elect. They had an election in, I think, the 1980s, late 1980s, 1987, 89, thereabout. The same president was overthrown, but then now we come to 1990 and we have the first one who is democratically elected. But in 1991, he's overthrown. In 1991, he's overthrown again, and a military regime takes over. But then, US, you know what? US just likes being involved. But US comes, does an invasion over here, brings their military troops, and US troops are feared because they're very powerful. They are well trained. They have the numbers.
Well equipped.
Thank you. That's a country where people just wake up and decide, I want to fight for my country. They are trained. So they have a number of soldiers. So in 1994, this military troops decide to go in, and what do? They oust the military regime in Haiti that was already settled. The military regime that was sitting there and had declared themselves now the leaders until we have the next government. And once this happened in 1994, a few years later in 1999, Aristide is elected again. So it's like he had 2 consecutive terms, but the first one doesn't really count because he only led the country for a year before he was ousted. So this time he was there to stay. But did he stay long though? Not really, because after 5 years in 2004, his life was threatened and he was going to be overthrown. And this time they were like, we're not just coming for your throne, we're coming for you. We're coming for your head. And this man decides to flee. Most people believe that he fled to the USA. I also believe he fled to the USA. We are not told where he fled to, but I believe he fled to the United States.
Could be highly likely.
Yeah, because they supported him to get back into power. So after he flees to the United States, Haiti at this point there is no leader. And then fast forward to 2010, I think this country has just been unlucky because 2010 we had the earthquake, we had a cholera outbreak in that country. And
you remember when
food shortages?
When this musician, what's his name? When Eugene was talking. When they redid the "We Are the World" song with all the notable celebrities, it was right around.
Yes. And it was actually for Haiti because they were suffering the outbreak. There was the earthquake that had happened and killed close to 300,000 people, estimated 220, but that's not the accurate figure. So all these people had died. There were protests countrywide. There was food shortages because when there are protests, they cannot access utilities, they can't get their social amenities, and it becomes a very chaotic thing. But then we now move to a new age of Haiti where we have now someone who was a banana farmer or a banana seller coming in to become president. And I am talking about Jovenel Moïse. Not Moise. Jovenel Moïse. In 2017, Jovenel Moïse is elected again, a democratically elected president. And this is amazing. But still, there's political unrest because we are now in a situation where it's tensed. Everyone seemingly wants to have this seat, but no one also wants it because they know the end of the people who take the highest seat of the land. Either they die or they are forced to flee the country and things like that. And at this point, gangs are already in place. And the funny thing that I came to realize, not so funny, the gangs in Haiti were actually funded by the political parties. So each political party would fund a gang in a particular region. And the reason why they would do this is, number one, the gangs were able to safeguard their interest in those regions. And in the event that there is an election, because either way, the next president would be ousted, we might need to have an election. In the event that I am vying, I am supporting this gang one. For example, maybe I'm supporting the G9, and G9 is in this particular territory of Haiti. Those are my votes, because the G9 would, by whatever means necessary, secure the votes for me in that particular region. So there were so many gangs that were coming up, funded by this political party. I don't think they had thought far enough to see that if they fund all these, the gangs might actually overpower them.
Exactly.
And they did, because what we're seeing right now is the gangs have overpowered the people who are paying them. And one thing that was interesting that came out after Moise became president, he was also funding one of the gangs. And that is how he got into power. And it was interesting because when you look at some of the records, a lot of money that went into the gangs that were headed by some of these people, one of them called Mr. Barbecue.
Yeah.
He says he's Mr. Barbecue because his mom used to barbecue chicken. But people say he's barbecue because he burns people alive.
Yeah,
you know.
There's also stories of cannibalism in it. So yeah,
It's quite a lot to unpack.
yeah.
So some of these gangs, he's the leader of the G9, which is one of the most powerful gangs, were on record as being funded by the state. So you ask yourself then, okay, how does this get to happen? Which to me it makes sense, because if you look at the history, most of the leaders who come in are funded by military. It can be like the actual military or just a group that is not really military, but they have military wear.
Yeah.
And Barbecue was actually a military officer at some point, and that's how he actually started the G9. Yeah, that was quite interesting. He was a police officer, and most of the atrocities he committed, he started when he was still there. So anyway, we have Moise. I keep saying Moise. I think of Moise. Juvenal elected as the president, and there's political unrest for all these years between 2017 up to 2021, when now he is assassinated in his presidential residence. He's just attacked, and man is just, gone.
Skill.
And thousands flock the streets because many people were claiming he was a dictator. And so there were thousands on the streets chanting, no dictatorship in Haiti, no dictatorship, guys want freedom. And it's like history is repeating itself, but in a modern setup.
Yeah, in a modern
setup. Previously, they were fighting slavery. Now, they're fighting being enslaved by their own people. And the chants of no dictatorship, we don't want this president, a lot of the gangs actually had that, and they ended up killing the president. Now, what happened was, after Juvenal became president, he appointed the prime minister, right? He appointed the new prime minister, what was his name? Avery. Yeah, something like that. The one who came to Kenya to sign the agreement.
Yeah, we don't know him because he kind of went missing.
Well, who is the guy?
No one knows, man.
Where did he release the statement from about his resignation?
Plausible deniability.
Too much yapo. Okay, so now we are after 2021, there is no legitimate president. We are in 2023 again, and there are talks of US again wanting to be involved in Haiti politics. And this time they don't want to do it directly because they have invaded territories before. It's interesting because when I was looking at this and you just decide to Google USA invasion of, oh my God, you are not ready for the list that pops up.
Yep.
These guys have invaded practically every country in this world. Anyway, so the Haitian Prime Minister, Ariel.
Yeah.
Ariel. Ariel. And his name is I think his name is Ariel. I don't know. I don't think I pronounce it well. But yeah. So he comes to Kenya because now the situation in Haiti has become so bad. The gangs have taken over the port. They have taken over the international airport, Port-de-Prince. They have taken over that. They have taken over all the roads. Literally, they have police stops. They are the police. And the Haitian police can't do anything about it.
They're overwhelmed.
They're overwhelmed. And they're outnumbered. They're outgunned. And it becomes difficult. So Haiti decides, you know what? We have to get help from other countries. And when they want help, when it comes to military help, who is the best person they can run to? You guessed it right. United States of America.
Yeah.
So they go to USA for help. And of course, when the United Nations Security Council sat to decide on the fate of Haiti, it was estimated that they need about 4,000 to 5,000 extra police force to actually help calm the situation in Haiti. Do they have this? No. So they decided to turn to their allies. I don't think they're their allies, but you think they're your allies, but they're actually not.
Yeah.
So it was agreed that Kenya is going to send troops. And I think it was a contest between Kenya and South Africa. It's more of a show of might or who does the best bidding for United States. Yay, Kenya, here we are.
More of those willing to scratch Big Brother's back.
Yeah, and vote with them at the UN Security Council and all UN meetings. Anyway, they decided that Kenya is going to send their police there. And I think you might have seen the debates that on Twitter, online, and everywhere. There was a lot of heated debate on, can Kenyan troops really handle the gangs in Haiti?
Yeah. It's a big question.
It is. Can we handle the gangs in Haiti? And what they wanted essentially was, we want a transition government. So then, having agreed that Kenya will send their troops, there was now a bilateral accord that was to be signed between Haiti and Kenya. Now, this is the interesting part. The Prime Minister in 2024, at the beginning of the year, jets into Kenya to sign the peace accord. And there was this whole show when he was signing the peace accord with our president. But then back in his hometown, G9 had taken over the airport and said, this man, you're not setting foot in this country. So this is the leader, apparently, the leader of this country, who's been told by the gangs that have overtaken the country, you're not coming here.
Come.
Usirudi by the enda ukiendanga. Enda ukiendanga. And it became so tense because there was a fraction of the Haitians or gangs who felt, no, just let the guy come back and he will resign. Ultimately, they wanted him to resign, and then they wanted to force him to set up a transition government. And the transition government, of course, it's always a military rule until the next election. And that's still in the process of happening at the moment, because after he was barred from going back into his country, after signing the bilateral accord on 12th March 2024, he stood on a podium and announced on television that he is resigning, and he won't return to Haiti at the moment. It's quite uncertain, at least until we have the transition government, which is funny because he's not supposed to oversee the creation of the transition government, but he's doing, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
So as what is happening now, the gangs have taken over the streets, the airport, the ports, basically every transport system. Their main source of income has been tourism. Being a Caribbean country, now that's not happening. The farms, really, that's also not happening because people don't even have food. People can't even get crops to farm.
Yeah.
So the situation has become so tense, and there has been forced displacement of about 35,000 people going into various countries, and most of them going by sea. And we know what happened. We've seen the situation of people trying to cross into Europe and all that. Yeah. A lot of people have died. A lot of people are dying of starvation and hunger. So we find some of the gangs like Barbecue, who is called the Robin Hood. Apparently he's called the Robin Hood of Port-au-Prince because he has this whole thing in the village. When you go inside the village, he has a barricade where everything bad is happening outside. But those who are within there, he gives them food every day. So they're actually living comfortably, and they call him the Robin Hood of Port-au-Prince. Which is very interesting, considering the guy is named Barbecue for a reason that we do not want to repeat again on this platform. Yeah. But you can see the situation there that Haiti has been put in. And now the question then becomes, is Haiti at the brink of collapse? Considering the history, and it's like history is repeating itself. The more time goes, nothing is changing. Yeah. Is Haiti at the brink of collapse? You're not spelling doom. This is just a question to you.
Yeah, but like, I think they are beyond that brink. Like when it comes to like how a modern state should look like, or what a modern state should look like. You can't confidently say like, by the way, things are really bad. Because when in a modern state, there must be structures of government. We have a judicial system, an executive and whatnot. So if you have one man ruling as well, you see, he even has his own private village where he would invite people and give you peace or sanctuary. So I think yes, but then Haiti's history is so long and complicated that you can't quite pinpoint where it starts or where the problem starts that Haitians can solve in and of themselves. Foreign powers have meddled within that country so much that it's a hollow what a nation should be. They are considering it's the oldest black independent country. So in finality, I can say they are beyond that brink of collapse. For modern state, they have collapsed. Yeah, it's only that there are fragments of civilization here and there. For example, in Barbecueville, where you could take now and and then you can, So because of things such as that, then you can't say that they are beyond that. They have collapsed. Yes, yeah.
But there's also something interesting that comes out when you look at the whole history of Haiti to where they are now. If you look at where it's positioned for success, for tourism, it's positioned for economic growth.
Yeah.
But then countries like other Caribbean countries like the Dominican Republic are actually doing so well, are actually thriving. And of course, we have this background. These guys were fined almost 150 million US dollars for simply chasing away the French regime. And I was having a discussion with a friend, and in his opinion, it was an ego issue because France were like, there is no other country that's revolting. Nyinyi mnajiona kinani, mnatutoa wa kwanza. Do you know how much shame that brings to us?
Exactly.
When countries are thriving enough,
they have just started having colonies, and then France is already losing a colony.
Yes, it was gonna look bad on them. So for them, it was more of an ego issue. And this is just a question, and I'll pose it to our viewers out there. Why is it that Haiti is struggling that much while the other countries are doing so well? Is it that these gangs are funded by people who have interests? Why is the United Nations not stepping in? And Kenya has to do USA.
Yeah, but then, Pia, I think we can also appreciate some of the negative context. Haiti, outside calamities engineered by men, is also subject to some of the worst natural disasters over the last year.
Hurricane Gordon, I think Hurricane Thomas.
Yes. So there's a point in the start of this century, or almost like by the mid-2010s, the country had reached a point where they sort of looked like a decent third world country in terms of infrastructure that they had. And then you would have this massive hurricane that would come and earthquakes that would just come and like tear things up. So on the backdrop of an already suffering nation, and then natural disasters literally bringing you guys back to ground zero, so that you lack the basic amenities for a civilized nation in the 21st century, then you notice that they are almost fighting with one hand tied behind their back. And then couple that with the massive political distress that the country has been undergoing, then you get to see how it's like playing Jenga. You just try to pull one block, the whole thing falls apart. So you can't build on anything else. And I think it has been congregation of misfortune, so much of a congregation of misfortune for them. The international players also have a big part to play. Big part to play. For example, how the US has for the last 200 years been running amok, messing up with various democracies, putting their hand in various cookie jars. And Haiti was one of those. Haiti has been one of those. That's what they've done. So such factors have really, really set them back. And the UN has more or less served the main purpose of preventing the big powers from going to war. That's the only success that UN has. And the Security Council in particular, one, leaving the peacekeeping efforts to a country such as Kenya and its police force. You get to see how we want to help you guys, but we really, really don't want to stretch ourselves as we help you.
So let's go. We'll fund you.
We'll fund you. And I am dead sure had we deployed our soldiers to Haiti, it would have been one of the worst catastrophes our armed forces have endured. Because one, that's foreign terrain. Police officers don't have the training that an army would have. Because you see, these are armed forces being treated as an invading force. An invading force is always met with one of the worst retaliations from our indigenous people. Particularly these ones who have seen the whole world stand against them and is now sending Kenyan police as a puppet to stuff down on their throats as they once did. Because intrinsically, even for some Haitian people, they view whatever they are in to be some form of freedom. I mean, we're free from the systems that were created to subjugate us. So I think the world really needs to ask itself a serious question on how they will handle the Haitian issue. And throwing Kenya police there ain't part of it. Because we who have them here, and I speak this as a concerned citizen who's very proud of my country. We who have them here have seen how our police force can be quite uncouth. Yeah. The certain nuances that would go with dealing with people, some of them have lost that very art form. So they will be, in every sense of the word, considered an invading force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And looking at the doctrine of state sovereignty and non-interference, we are going to be in breach of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, even as we wrap this up, one thing I find interesting, NATO came in so clearly in supporting Ukraine against the war with Russia.
Mm-hmm.
The USSR, the Soviet Union during the Cold War, came to the rescue of, what's his name again? Patrice Lumumba.
Yes.
At that time when he was almost being assassinated and the whole period where Congo was, there were some oppressive regimes with the Belgians and all that, and the United States had refused to help. The USSR was willing and very ready to help, and they actually helped. But right now, I am seeing a replay of what happened in Rwanda in 1994, when those guys were killing themselves and all that was happening, and the world literally took a backseat.
Yes.
And with our arms folded, everyone watched as millions of people were killed. Everyone watched as a massacre was happening on a whole race of people being wiped out, a genocide. And if we're not careful, then we risk losing Haiti to something as grand as that. Because you can't have, it's not a big country. It's literally one tiny country that has more gangs than normal citizens. And that is not really political stability. And therefore that trickles down to economic instability and everything else around it. Anyway, we can talk about Haiti for 3 hours. We can talk about Haiti for 3 hours because the amount of work and research that has gone into this particular episode was even baffling for us, because there are things that we were discovering in the course of research that were like, wait, what? That happened? You are kidding me. As in the number of times I was gasping while reading was very...
You can't even believe it, the horrors. And by the way, we barely mentioned things. Like when we skipped decades, there are certain centuries in which you'd look at what is going on in Haiti and you just want. And it's funny, this is also not the first time the world has left the band troops. So yeah, it's a very long discussion. But I think a good thing is that we are kickstarting that fire within you to search and understand for yourself. What is it that, for example, Kenyans who are watching this, that our government was about to get itself in? Yeah, it's a situation we don't even understand in its entirety.
Yet our leaders, when put to task, could not justify the reason why we are sending our soldiers there. And it's okay, right now it's been halted with the Prime Minister resigning, yet he was the person who put his signature on the accord. And all that is happening, we've halted the whole thing. Although that CS was talking as if no matter what you do, we are sending those people. You all know who I'm talking about. But it's okay. It's okay. So this has been a very unorthodox episode. I mean, we're talking about Africa and the continent and all that. But this was a story that we just had to tell. This was a conversation that we needed to have because, again, where Africans are involved, we are also involved as African Footprints Podcast. It's not just Africans within the African continent, but those who we view as our brothers and sisters because of our skin color and because they face certain oppressions because of their skin color. And it's very important to have some of these discussions. So I really hope this episode has opened your eyes to a lot that is happening, and you don't just look at it from the surface values. It's just another country. It's just another country that's headed with. No, it's just another state that's fighting and has guns. No, it is not an ordinary state that has guns. Some of these things have been planted and sponsored by very serious powers to keep them down, simply because they chose to fight against oppressive regimes. They chose to fight against slavery when no one else was thinking of fighting against slavery at that point. And simply because of that reason, wamekandamizwa, they have to be down. Like, yo kiburi yenu, kuleni kiburi yenu sasa. Literally, Kuleni Kiburi Yenu Sasa summarizes the whole situation in Haiti. So thank you, Paul, for coming. Thank you, Red Square, for this first episode. This was actually Red Square Street's idea. That was Eston's idea.
Yeah.
And I hope we've done a good job. I hope you're proud of us. Papa Camera.
Yeah. Yeah, Papa Camera.
God.
Yeah, we should feature Eston on this tape.
Another, other than the boat guy. The boat guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us on this first episode. Season 3 is going to be a hot one. Like I said, we are talking assassination. Guys, you name it, Father John Kaiser, Gaddafi, yes. Yeah, that's going to be a hot one.
Sankara.
Mas Joseph.
Yeah,
We have all those people that we'll be talking about. So we hope to see you in all our subsequent episodes. We hope you like this one. Please check us out on all our social media platforms. That is African Footprints Podcast. We are available on YouTube, on Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. And you can also find us on TikTok and Instagram. I know I've not posted much over there, but yeah, you can also find us there.
Always coming.
On Twitter, very active on X as Effie Joan. So feel free to check out all our platforms so that you don't miss out. There is a lot cooking in season 3, guys. And we might just think of having an event and we'll just come and talk about history and games with prizes. Yeah, so there's a lot coming. Please support this. Thank you so much for supporting us thus far. That is all from us in studio. Goodbye. I'm Apollo Andy. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's Michelle Sam.
Say my goodbye.
Goodbye.
That was the intellectual.